Thank you for downloading episode 363 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Dave Roberts. Ken is facing deportation right now, so filling in is editor extraordinaire and the man behind the Georgia Virtue, at least the operating the Georgia Virtue, Eric Cumbee.
So I guess Ken, his opinion on the county manager and county attorney was so unpopular they ran him out.
All the way to Eastern Europe.
Huh.
Yeah, he's in Budapest for work. He'll be back by the time the show drops. Maybe, and we'll get to that story in a minute. Maybe he gets back because European air travel is in turmoil right now. Of course, this week we have Theo. Trump orders the beach. More airline mishaps. President Connor. Gwinnett sheriff catches a suit. Stealing troop pay, and Kemp gets his way. So, man, I know it's not being behind the microphone is not your favorite thing in the world. I appreciate you filling in.
Anytime, it's certainly different, but the more I do it, I get used to it. So maybe I'll have a little more to say than some of the past episodes.
Everybody we know is traveling. Ken's in Budapest. I think Catherine Bernard, who's been on the show a couple times, is in Spain, or at least was. Doug Shaw, who's filled in before, is in Ohio. Matt Lowe, who's one of the founders of the show, is in Utah. And here you and I are just kind of got to sit back in Georgia going, well, okay. Well, Doug had, for what I understand, Dougie had a very nice and kind of a sad trip. His wife's, as I recall, grandfather turned 100 on the same day his wife passed.
Oh,
not
no.
Doug, not Doug's wife, but Doug's grandmother-in-law. I tell you what, Doug, at 98 and 100, when you said till death do us part, buddy, you're in it for life.
Yep.
Yeah, the families, my wife's family is not particularly long-lived. So it's maybe a 30-year sentence max. She hates that joke. All right, so one of our often found mules of the week, Theodore Hamby, got popped by the GBI.
He did.
This is in relation to just we've been talking about this for a while as far as these county commissioners and city council members who misuse their official cards, their credit cards.
Yeah, and that's, from what we understand, it was a city credit card that he was given, and apparently hadn't had it for too long, and he racked up enough charges to be facing a felony. So,
well, let's sum up in less than a year and a half, in less than 18 months. Theodore Hamby went from being a rising star in the Republican Party, very prominent young Republican. I think I've met him. Ken knows the kid, and a lot of people around the Capitol know him. And he's young. Was he 24 years old at this point?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, young, like half my age. But so he goes from being this rising star to getting elected to, is it Statesboro City Council?
No, this is Guyton City Council.
Guyton. So he gets there. So the first thing he does is try to sell his endorsement to someone running for another office.
Yep, it was the clerk of court. And then he turns around and he had offered it to someone else, and then he kind of flipped, and that's how it all came to light.
Yeah, he was exposed. He thought he was having private conversations, which, son, in politics, nothing is private. Ask Casey Cagle.
Yep.
You can't even get your shoes tied in private. But that ultimately that was his unraveling for Casey Cagle was the tapes of him saying it's not about effing people, it's about effing politics.
Yep.
So anyway, he puts his endorsement out for lease. On the heels of that kind of cools off. And if that was his only indiscretion, it would have gone away. Apparently, he said he would never vote for a pension for this is a city. Guyton is tiny.
Right.
We're not talking about Atlanta City Council with deep pockets. Votes himself and the other members of the city council retirement benefits.
And he was on video saying, and I posted on Facebook, I am against retirement for a city councilman. And somehow he's claiming he never said that.
Yeah, it wasn't a deep fake, Theo.
No.
And now he's getting popped for misuse of the county card.
Well, but before even that, we had he was putting forward an ordinance that would decriminalize marijuana possession in the city of Guyton.
In the city of Guyton, which doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Now, look, I think you and I are both for decriminalization of pot.
Yeah.
I don't think that either one of us are really pot users. Mostly because we refer to it as pot. You can tell we're uncool. But I don't care what
my only reason to keep it illegal is I cannot stand the smell of it.
Dude, I've got neighbors. We'll have the most beautiful spring day. You think I'm going to open up the doors. It's perfect. It's 68 degrees outside. The wind is blowing, and then it's like, does someone run over a skunk?
Yeah. I used to live in a duplex, and my neighbors at one point smoked all the time, and it was just it about made me sick half the time.
But anyway, we mentioned on the show, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for Guyton to decriminalize it. All that means is like the 3 officers they have on the road won't go after it.
And I mean, the city of Statesboro did something similar a couple years ago, and I don't really know that it's made a whole lot of difference because it's only as long as it's simple possession and there's not another crime. And I believe Guyton is doing something. So you still see people getting popped for simple possession in the city of Statesboro, but it's because there's other crimes been committed.
Well, like, maybe using a fire extinguisher.
Yeah. I don't think that was pot, but I think it was just alcohol. But
yeah, it was just alcohol. I understand, but
yeah,
but we're so glad Daphne Totten is gone. You and I were talking about the show, but yeah, to throw a felony at a kid for a prank,
right?
And look, I don't disagree that if a kid's over 21, whatever age we said on 18, 21, and he's in possession, simple possession, and it's not a reason to ruin his collegiate career, which is what would happen in Statesboro is you get popped, and then mom and dad find out, and next thing you know, they're out of school and they're now college dropouts.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was stupid. And his reasoning was stupid. I mean, it just.
And I don't think the decriminalization was the worst part of it. But then he went on and started ranting on Facebook and started talking about bad hombres and how he wanted to make the city of Guyton a 236. I think that's the number G city. Basically meaning that their jail would cooperate with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement because of the bad hombres.
They don't have a
jail. Yeah, it's just
they have a room that they may hold somebody in until they can get them down over to the county.
I don't even know if they have that, to be honest with you.
Like I've been to the Guyton is smaller than the city of Dallas or the city of Hiram. Yeah, and I've been in the Powder Springs Police Department.
Yeah. It's basically 2 roads and a roundabout.
Yeah.
That's the city of Guyton.
So you can declare yourself anything you want. And if he wanted to run
Right.
for county commissioner, well, that might carry some weight.
Yeah.
Or go get post certified and run for sheriff. But I can't
Which
imagine
I'm sure
handing a kid who can't be trusted with a city credit card the entire sheriff's budget.
Right. Yeah. Or county commissioner for that matter.
Yeah, take off us boots for everybody.
Yeah.
I know that
Yeah.
was a different local politician that was buying himself boots, I believe.
Yeah, that was Long County, but the spirit was there as well with Theodore. At least we assume so. We haven't. Everything we've heard is just kind of rumor and speculation at this point. But
Right. Well, none of that will come out until the true indictment comes down.
right.
And last I heard, Hamby was not stepping down until the true indictment comes down.
I haven't heard anything about what he intends to do. I know they don't have a council meeting for another couple weeks, I don't think it is. So that'll be an interesting meeting to go to.
Are you going to sit in the corner and just start yelling, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry?
I don't think I have to do that because there's going to be other people that'll probably end up doing that.
And by the way, the little half-assed goatee he's got going on, I saw his booking photo. He's not working for the kid.
No,
he looks like a magician with the way his goatee is done, and he sort of is. He's a magician that makes taxpayer dollars disappear.
Yeah,
and it's gone. All right. Speaking of money, Brandon Beach has been tapped to lead the U.S. Treasury. He would be the U.S. Treasurer, not the Treasury Secretary.
Which I had to go look up and find out what the distinction between the treasurer and the secretary of treasury was.
He would be directly in charge of the Mint and Fort Knox. I mean, it's a big job.
And all the gold allegedly inside of Fort Knox.
Right.
Allegedly.
Right. And look, it's a great job. Brandon Beach is the president and CEO of the North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, the State Chamber of Commerce. Congratulated him. A lot of people from Fulton County, even on the other side of the aisle, are congratulating him. I think he'll be an easy pass. I mean, get out of confirmation. I think he'll be an easy pass because I don't think he's, unless they start bringing up the 2020 denier thing and
right.
Like if you look up his Wikipedia page, we all know that Wikipedia is a liberal breeding pool, but that's prominently displayed that he was an election denier and his attempt to overthrow the election.
But he was not on the Fannie Willis suit, was he? Or charges. He wasn't part of the RICO charges, was he?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
That would be a disqualifier.
Would it?
I mean, we haven't talked about Fannie Willis in a while.
Right, yeah.
But it's a good appointment. I put a note down. Is Trump going to leave any Republican left in Georgia?
He's gone to the Georgia well quite a bit already. And Kelly Loeffler, of course, she's not holding any office, which is probably for the best.
And look, Loeffler was really set up. It wasn't on purpose, but she tried to embrace this working girl sort of attitude.
Right.
And it did not work for her. And Trump doesn't try to do the working. I mean, yes, he filled it at McDonald's, but he still kept his suit on. He took his jacket off, kept his shirt, tie, and suit pants on to work at McDonald's. He knows he's rich. He doesn't try to hide it. You know, I think Jessica's best thing when she put up a picture of Kelly Loeffler at an event where she's wearing like $1,000 blue jeans and a hat. So does this hat make me look poor?
Yeah.
And she's talking about she went out
Gucci jeans and wasn't it the wrong
she went out and bought
rifle?
a Kia. Yes, she went and bought a Kia. I think it was a Kia. It's a Kia or Hyundai, and they're the same company. But she went and got a Kia from the West Point plant, so she can just be one of the people. And honestly, when she left off, she's probably like gave that to her maid, hop back in her Mercedes.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I mean, it goes to show that there are a lot of solid Republicans, and honestly, Trump rewards loyalty.
He does.
And I
And I
have,
think that's
I don't have a problem with him rewarding loyalty. I do have a problem with him punishing what he views as disloyalty, like with Thomas Massey, going after him, wanting to primary him, and all that kind of stuff. And it was uncalled for him to do that. And we talked about it last week or week before. It was uncalled for him to do that. But I don't have a problem with the chief executive recognizing those who are loyal to him, even with giveaway posts like he gave to Herschel with okay, you're now the ambassador to the Bahamas. Like he gave Herschel the perfect position, because there's no way you could mess that up. It's a beautiful island nation that sits just off of Florida, and all you have to do is just sit there and not screw up. You know, go to the state dinners and spend the rest of the time on the beach.
Yep.
So we have more airline issues. This was a big one that happened at the end of last week, which was power outage at LHR. That's London Heathrow.
I am glad that all happened now instead of when my parents are going to be flying into London Heathrow in 2 weeks' time. So if that's going to happen, I'm glad they went ahead and got it out of their system now.
Well, as we're recording, all we know is there was an explosion at a power station that's very close to the airport. The British, I assume it's MI5, but their anti-terrorist group is on it. Although they're not calling it terrorism as of recording. They're not calling it terrorism.
I saw right before we started that they were currently deeming it as non-suspicious. But yeah, MI5 is looking into it.
But that's gonna wreak havoc all over Europe. Not to mention in the States.
Right.
You know, those planes aren't like commuter buses. They just don't go, you know, LHR to JFK and back. That piece of metal, that 767 that's supposed to be that's landing in Boston, is this supposed to be going on to LAX, then supposed to be going on to Honolulu. So it puts all those other flights, and people think that airlines have like a giant cache of airplanes sitting around. Like, okay, we can't get that one out of London. Let's just pull one out and put it in service. Doesn't work like that.
Right.
And you know, I was texting with Ken, and apparently one of the people that's in his group that's traveling was supposed to be going through LHR to go home, and I think Ken is connecting in Amsterdam, so he may be okay. I think he's coming back through Amsterdam, and maybe through Charles de Gaulle, which is a nightmare in and of itself. But that's gonna take a while to untangle, because that is Europe's busiest airport.
Right. I mean, it's one of the world's busiest airports, not just Europe, but isn't it normally Hartsfield and Heathrow that kind of go back and forth for world's busiest airport?
They do. It's some of the Asian airports. But yeah, especially as far as our hemisphere, the Western Hemisphere, yeah, those two go back and forth with being what they call the world's busiest, and they're constantly taking off and landing. It's one after the other,
right?
And it never stops. And LHR is I can imagine what it looks like inside the. Look, they put out a statement: "Do not come to the airport."
Yeah.
Unless your airline has told you you're not going anywhere, don't come to the airport. There's nowhere to put you. And London hotels aren't cheap.
No.
I'm guessing normally a decent airport adjacent hotel. When I say decent, I'm not talking about Red Roof Inn, but decent would probably be around £300 a night. Probably be going for around £800 a night right now.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that, because I played travel agent for my parents and found them for their flight back, found them a hotel, Crown Plaza, which, you know, not a bad hotel. It was $107 for one night, and we were like, yeah,
That was versus them spending like 10 hours at JFK, right?
right, or worse, Montreal.
Oof.
Yeah,
I mean, unless they're just really into syrup. But JFK is nice. I mean, inside. I've never
yeah,
been outside security at JFK. I've connected flights there, and if they have access to the Sky Club, it's a decent Sky Club. But 10 hours is a long time, even for
yeah.
sitting in a Sky Club.
Right, and I don't think they have. They don't fly enough to have Sky Club.
And
So
it doesn't matter, even if you have it. Sky Club is nice for a 2 hour layover.
yeah,
You know, grab something to eat, grab a couple beverages. Okay, it's time to board and
yeah,
go walk onto your flight. 10 hours is brutal.
yeah. And that was one of their complaints about when they got stuck. Well, they didn't get stuck, but they had a layover in Montreal, and there was nothing open. So
Oh
there
yeah,
was no food. There was no nothing.
I heard the story of
That.
a friend, and you know her, but she and her husband were flying back from Paris on 9/11
Mm-hmm.
and got diverted to somewhere, I think Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Well, they couldn't go anywhere. There was whatever airport they were forced to land at didn't have customs, so they couldn't. They had to stay in a quarantine area.
Right.
And she said the locals were so kind and bringing food and waters over and all that stuff because they knew that had Americans stuck on the ground that they couldn't go back to Paris, and they couldn't go on to, I don't know if they're flying. I think they're flying into New York before going back to Atlanta. But yeah, getting stuck sucks.
Yeah.
At least at JFK, if your parents so wanted to, I said it was the TWA hotel. You could correct me. It's the Pan Am Hotel. I think there's a 707 to walk through, and there's apparently the bars were really cool, but I've heard the rooms are dated and
Yeah.
noisy and stuff like that. But still, 10 hours. I mean,
Yeah. I did. I want to say 6 or 8 hour layover in Utah, and it was not fun. By the time I finally got on my plane, I was ready.
yeah, I don't care where we go. Just get me out of here.
Yeah.
And look, they have minute suites in a lot of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
airports.
Yeah.
And if you get a good one that actually it'll have a shower and a bathroom in it. And those
Yeah.
are paid by the hour. But at least it gets away from the hustle and bustle of the airport, so you can actually lay down. I mean, whenever you have any sort of carry on, if you even try to doze off, you're worried about someone snatching your bag or your
Right.
travel documents or something like that. And I only carry the only thing I carry on is my backpack, and whenever I'm sitting down, I just like I did in the Army, I stick my leg through the arms of it. That way, you're not going to be able to get it off of me without me knowing.
Yeah.
All right, so back more on airlines. I'm gonna move one around here. 767-400 on the way from LHR. This is the day before the outage. Has to make an emergency landing after a windshield overheated.
I did not know windshields are something that overheated. I mean, I know they have like heating elements in them for de-icing and to keep them from fogging, but I didn't know you could actually overheat one.
That's a first on me. I haven't talked to my airline people, but that's a first on me. Look, it was the right thing to do. Divert,
Right.
get it taken care of. It's a
Yeah.
767-400, which is the long haul version of the 767. 25-year-old aircraft. It's actually the Delta 767 fleet has been the 400s at least have been updated. They have a very nice Delta One cabin in them. They have the premium select, so they've been updated. So when you hear 25 or 30-year-old airplane, it doesn't mean that it's 25 or 30 years. The edges have already been overhauled, if not replaced. The interior a lot of times has already been completely overhauled. So when people get wrapped around the axle on is they think that a 25-year-old airplane is like driving a 25-year-old car, and it's not.
Right. I mean, at this point, that plane's probably been completely disassembled and reassembled several times.
Sure. And look, when I think of like heat, I think of like the space shuttle re-entering.
Right.
You don't think about it with airplanes, and I doubt that was the case. But they dropped the altitude down to 10,000 feet, which is the safe altitude. So
Right.
in case the glass did shatter, there wouldn't be a rapid depressurization, and
Right.
everybody would be safe. It's just, and I think these things probably happen all the time, but everything on the news is super super sensitive right now.
Yeah. I mean, I actually saw a table of aviation accidents last year compared to this year, and we're down by about half compared to last year. So it's not like there's been a sudden outbreak of aviation problems.
Well, the one going into DC was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So we usually don't see a lot of that, but yeah, things like deep pressures. We usually don't see door plugs flying off either.
Right.
But stuff like this that could be something as simple as a window heater that went awry. They just need to have someone take a look at it. They'll fly. What Delta would do is they'll fly in a mechanic crew to go and address that issue before putting the bird back in the air.
Yeah.
But Hong Kong Airlines had a fire in the cabin. Someone said it was a battery pack.
That's kind of what it looked like to me. And it looked like they were trying, it was like in the luggage compartment, or the overhead storage bins for luggage. So I don't know if that was a passenger battery pack or if that was part of the flight equipment.
I don't know. That's what I was wondering. Was it a vape that caught fire? It's one of the reasons that you're not allowed to check lithium ion batteries.
Right. Yeah.
Do you remember?
I know anytime I
the
fly anywhere with
Galaxy that wasn't allowed on
the
airplanes for a
Galaxy
while?
Note. Yeah. Yeah, I know anytime I fly with my drone that I have a little fire resistant bag that the batteries go in to travel with. They don't require it, but it just, hey, I'm going to be stuck on that plane with those batteries too, so I don't want them to cause a problem.
So yeah, I don't know if it was power cell that was the overhead, and I saw different opinions on different places that it could have been a power cell that goes in above the over compartment because it was pretty widespread. And I'm not saying the whole cabin was engulfed, but
Yeah.
they were hitting it with water bottles, hitting it with what looked like soup, like you get a big thing of broth at the store. But
Mm-hmm.
this was Hong Kong Air, so that could be how some of the water is shipped. I have no idea, but so now there's water dripping from the overhead, and they had to make an emergency stop. I mean, you hope so. You hope they don't just go,
Yeah.
it's good, let's
Yeah.
go. All right, so Conor McGregor announces he's going to run for president of Ireland.
Yeah, and that comes after he visited the White House, what was it, Monday for St. Patrick's Day?
It was.
And apparently that's inspired him to, I think he said, it's the EU Migration Pact that he's running on, apparently.
Yes, very similar to the America First is McGregor gave a speech at the White House about how Irish towns are being taken over by immigrants and that the native Irish are now minorities.
Right.
He's not a dumb guy, and
No.
he's funny, he's charming, but the rape crisis centers in Ireland are pissed. So a woman accused Conor McGregor and another guy and said she was brutally assaulted by him. This is 8 or 9 years ago. And she won a 200-pound, or I think it's €230 award from the jury. He was never criminally convicted. So the other guy caught nothing. and I don't. Some of the details are kind of fuzzy on it. You know, the Irish legal system doesn't work the same way as it does
Right.
here, and Mcgregor is appealing it. I mean, he was shaking his head. I mean, that's yeah, 230 euros, 230,000 euros, a bunch of money.
Oh, it's 200.
It's
Okay.
230,000 euros, and she said she couldn't. She was a hair colorist, so I guess hair dyeing.
Right.
She couldn't work anymore because of the trauma. She and her partner split up over the trauma. Now, not to be victim shaming, but if you have a domestic partner, what are you doing going up to Conor McGregor's penthouse flat?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that. Not saying if she is a victim, she just shouldn't deserve it. She deserved everything. I'm just saying that like some of it doesn't add up. Like the guy without the deep pockets, that got dismissed, but the guy with the deep pockets, they hammered. So I don't know if it happened or not. The only two people who know if it happened are Conor McGregor and the accuser.
Right.
And both McGregor and this other guy that was accused admitted to having consensual sex. But if I don't know, she's talking about being bruised and battered and all that stuff and going to the hospital, but nobody filed any criminal charges. It's
But,
so I don't know. I'm not defending them.
right.
I say I don't know, but that's going to be very difficult in a political campaign because it's not that we're not talking about something that happened in 1970.
No.
I think it was 2018.
That seems about right. I vaguely remember this, but I mean, I don't really follow UFC all that much, so I don't. I mean, I know who Conor McGregor is, but that's about it.
Well, yeah, when he fought Floyd Mayweather,
Right.
who they would say Mayweather can't read, and Conor McGregor spent like $10,000 on a suit, pinstripe suit. Now I want this one. It says "F-U." All the pinstripe says "F-U" in small writing, and the joke was Conor McGregor is so dumb he spent $10,000 with a suit for somebody who can't read.
Yeah.
But after the fight, just like every other fight, he was very complimentary of how Mayweather fought, and people got onto him because he said he fought like a Mexican, which was not derogatory. It was a compliment because Mexican boxers are
Right.
widely known to be outstanding fighters.
Yeah.
So everybody jumped on him about that, about using a slur. I'm like, that's not a slur. That's a compliment in boxing to say you fight like Mexicans. I mean, that's. I mean, great fighters come out of Mexico.
Right.
All right, so Gwinnett County Sheriff is being sued after it failed to comply with open records requests.
Not just a few open records requests, but a ton of them.
Or any of them, or overcharged for it, like tens of thousands of dollars. What this is the Georgia Gazette. Georgia Gazette, for people who don't know, if you go on Facebook and you see, in my area, Paulding County Crime, and you see booking photos come up, that's the Gazette. The guy has a very good business model.
He really does.
I mean, it's brilliant. He has AI and people from overseas that write the stuff up for him, and he has 50 something counties that he does.
So, yeah.
And obviously, that's Fulton. There's no point in doing Fulton because all that stuff gets published anyway. But places like Paulding County, Bullock, these other places around the state, where we wouldn't know if somebody was arrested unless we went specifically looking for that. But all this is public information.
It is, yeah.
And complaints have been routinely placed with Chris Carr's office about the non-compliance in Gwinnett County.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, Chris Carr is just as much of a jackass in this as the sheriff of Gwinnett County is, if not more.
What would it take for the attorney general to pick up the phone, call the sheriff in Gwinnett, and go, "Hey, listen,
Cut it out.
don't make me do my job."
Right. and I haven't read the lawsuit, but I read Jessica's article on it. And the other thing that gets me is they have a portal for media outlets to get the booking reports off of, but they decided not to include the Georgia Gazette in that and make them file open records requests. So to me, that's not just an open records suit. That's a free speech suit, because you're deciding, well, this person's media, but this person isn't. And from everything I understand, you're not supposed to do that.
Don't get me wrong. The Georgia Gazette is run by an a-hole.
Yeah.
I mean, me admiring his business sense does, and I'm an a-hole too. But pictures of 17-year-old kids. Look, if it's public record, it's up.
Right.
Well, they dropped the charges. Show me. Yeah, if it was null processed, no, it stays up. If you're found not guilty, they will take it down.
Right.
Or
and
if the
by
charges
law,
are officially
by law,
dismissed.
they're required to. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The fact is, when I give my layman's legal advice whenever I see people on this thing, is they'll pop up and go, "That's my mama," or "That's my son," or "That's me," and say, "That's not what happened." And I'm like, I'll just go out there and say, "Look, I'm going to give you a layman's legal brief here. Shut up. Delete this. Lock down your social media. Don't say another word. Hire the best attorney you can find. That's it. Just shut up."
Yeah. Well,
Ron White did about at that point I had
say.
the right to remain silent, but not the ability.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see these people on their booking photos all the time start making excuses. I'm like, if you want to help him, shut up.
The funniest thing that I've seen was, Georgia Virtue, we post booking photos as well. But people will literally, if they see someone they know in them, they'll tag them. They'll tag all of their friends. And sometimes it's just hilarious what they'll start saying in the comments.
And look, there are a lot of pigs on there too. Mm-hmm. There's some guys that anytime a female's picture comes up, they'll say pass or smash or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they'll make fun of somebody's makeup or I'm like, when you see somebody getting booked, that is usually the worst day of their lives.
Right.
The guy with a big smile that's not worried about it, usually scroll down and look at the charges, and it's like probation violation. He's been here before.
Right. Of course, you saw what was it, Lily Thomas in Morgan County last week, I think.
Oh, the smoking hottie?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw where they dismissed her charges because of the undue attention that it had generated. I'm like, really?
There was a criminal, I can't remember, I think he was from Florida. It was a dude, and all the chicks went gaga over him.
Yeah, the model guy. Yeah.
Yeah, either had a mole or a little teardrop tattoo, but all the girls went gaga over him. Hey, look, I've said complimentary things on there. It's not crude, but there was one chick that, she looked like she was heading out for a night on the town. Her hair was on point, her eyelashes were on point. I'm like, she was like, they must have interrupted her like on the way to a wedding or something. Cause I'm like, I said, man, I said, her makeup's on point, and she actually popped up, says, "Thank you. I actually did put a lot of effort into it that day before they got me." But I don't like booking photos. I don't like perp walks, but I abhor the idea of the government being able to throw you in jail without telling anyone that you're in there.
And that is what we try to explain to people is there is a reason we publish these things, and that is part of the reason why.
Yeah, well, yeah, we need to know what the government is doing.
Yes.
And if if the government's wrong, absolutely, that's even more evidence for that person to sue the government for false arrest or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I not a big fan of booking photos, but like I said, I abhor the idea of just throwing people in prison.
Right. And I hope this turns into a big check. I would hope that, because I'm assuming Gwinnett County will bring in outside counsel,
Of
like
course.
they do, like these counties do anytime they get sued. And that outside counsel will probably tell them, y'all need to settle this.
And I don't think the Gazette is looking for money other than covering the
No.
attorney costs. They are looking for them to change the way they do business. The Georgia Gazette makes plenty of money.
Right. Although for the long string of, the way at least according to the suit, the way the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Department's acted, I feel like at that point I'd want something a little punitive as well.
Yeah, but that doesn't play as well.
No.
When you just say, all I want for them to do is their job,
Right.
that kind of puts a different light on it. That instead of somebody looking for money is I want them to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of not doing the right
it's
thing.
like my friends in Bullitt County that sued the downtown they threatened to sue the Downtown Development Authority over not being allowed in at First Friday when they were allowing other political things in.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about that story. Or the mayor of Savannah.
Yeah.
Who got sued for blocking people from official pages.
And that was Sislaji v. Johnson, for anyone that wants to look that one up on the federal court system.
And I tell you what, if Johnson thinks he's going to run for governor, I mean, don't think that he won't get hammered over and over about that.
Oh, I hope so.
And his gun stuff with not wanting to prohibit guns from city parks in violation of state law.
Yes.
So,
or the trying to write you a ticket if your gun gets stolen out of your car.
Right. Yeah,
There's plenty of stuff.
You can't carry it into the park, but you can't leave it in your car.
Yeah. And I certainly hope that if he decides to run for governor, people are reminded of the fact that he wanted to chase people with drones during COVID.
Yep. Then again, Gretchen Whitmer got reelected.
Yeah, that's true.
Michigan. But Georgia's a different case. Georgia's not Michigan.
Yeah. No.
It would take a very, very strong Democrat to take Georgia. Maybe Joe Lieberman's son. I think he lives down that area, down Savannah, doesn't he?
I think he does. Yeah.
Because he would have the money to do it. I just don't think Johnson has it. I mean,
no.
He could go run for state rep or state senate down there and probably win. Because for whatever reason, the actual residents of Savannah love him. I want him to go into the damn city now.
Yeah.
When I head down your way, I go and see you, Jessica, and the baby, and that's about it. I make it sound like you guys are married. We're really there to see the baby, and you and Jessica are ancillary characters.
Yeah.
All right. So where the hell's all the money going that's supposed to be used to feed the troops?
Where is it going?
Well, the Colorado delegation to Congress wants to know. So nuts and bolts of this. When you are lower enlisted, you typically live on post. You live in barracks. You're single and lower enlisted. You live in barracks. And part of your pay is deducted for food because you eat on post. So this whole idea of they feed you and give you, no, that's not exactly how it works. The quality of the food has been falling off the last few years. And I was talking to you before the show. I never had a bad meal in the Army. I never had to deal with undercooked chicken, mold, things like that. I can't say I had very many good meals.
Right.
And trust me, if steak and lobster came out, something bad was going down. We're about to get orders in the mail. Hand it to us. Like this is not good. But no, most of my time in the Army, even field chow was okay. I mean, it wasn't spectacular. The worst meal I had in the military was actually on a Navy ship. But apparently now that's changed. At Fort Carson alone, 22 million was collected from soldiers and 5 was spent on food in 2024. 17 million is out there somewhere that troops paid for food and got apparently on Carson, the chow halls aren't open on the weekends or holidays. It's just a grab and go. And it's high sugar, high fat, high carb, sort of gas station type food, where you're for many jokes as I make, and as much nicotine and alcohol troops put through our bodies, the rest of it, the nutrition is kind of important because you are up at 4 o'clock in the morning for PT.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If they're gonna collect $225 million, I mean, I think it's reasonable that all of that goes to cover food, and I don't.
Yeah, and look, the best meal in the Army used to be breakfast.
Right.
Because that was eggs, any style, or egg beaters. Even when I was in back in the 90s, they had egg beaters if you were watching your cholesterol. And when I say any style, I mean, I don't ever saw them get poached eggs, but they'd make an omelet for you. You get them fried, scrambled, get SOS, which is chip beef gravy. And look, breakfast was the big meal.
Right.
Now, a lot of times for lunch, we'd just go to the gym for lunch and swing through and grab a sandwich. But at lunch, they had a fast food station, which was somebody with a fry top doing burgers. And then they had whatever other meal they had going on. And then dinner was whatever they had. I mean, I think you still had, if I recall, you still had the option to go to the fast food side if you want a hamburger, hot dog, or chicken sandwich, something like that. But it was always hot. And it was available at the assigned times. And you're saying at Carson, there's no place to get a hot meal that you've already paid for. If you want something hot, you end up going either off post, or every Army post has Burger King, which is not exactly healthy for you, or go over the PX, or getting something to go take back to your barracks and microwave, which there nothing says healthy like Hot Pockets,
right? Or a TV dinner.
Right. Yeah. TV dinner. And look, you're talking about guys who burn a ton of calories, particularly in combat arms and special operations, things like that, burn a ton of calories through the day. And on the weekends, you're only replacing them with empty calories, and maybe half what a civilian eats, which is 2,000 calories a day. Maybe get half of that, because troops don't finish it. And there's pages on Facebook that are dedicated to how poor the food is.
Yeah. Yeah, I vaguely remember my dad was stationed at Fort Stewart during Desert Storm as part of the National Guard. And, I remember we would go and visit him just about every weekend during Desert Storm. And I vaguely remember us eating on post, and I think the dining hall, and I remember it being pretty good. Of course, I was also like 6 years old at the time, so I don't know.
Well, and there's always plenty of it. There's usually a salad bar. Yeah. From what I'm seeing now in some of these things where they're doing the hand out and go, that they're they have like 3 chicken nuggets and like a handful of plain lettuce for a salad, and like that.
Yeah.
For troops that are active, 3 little chicken nuggies like you might give somebody in kindergarten is not going to sustain a guy that's 185 pounds, 6'3", who runs 7 miles a day.
Yeah. And I mean, even, if Carnival can have 24-hour pizza on their ships and have like 2 guys there running it, I think an Army post could do the same thing. And it's not like it costs a ton of money.
And when you're deployed, typically that is the case. I mean, once you get past it, initial stuff, But once you're settled into a deployment, they're usually running, if not 24 hours a day, they're running multiple shifts for the guys that work midnights. So
right.
the guy who starts work at 9:00 p.m. He can get some form of breakfast before he goes to work at 8:00 at night. At midnight, there's some form of lunch. But that's morale. It's not just them stealing, and that's bad enough as a fiscal conservative. But that's morale. I mean,
yeah,
that makes a big difference. It's also what causes soldiers to marry strippers, is be able to get separate rations so they get their own money back.
Yeah.
Remember, troops, she does not love you. She wants your TRICARE. This is a good time to remind you these are our opinions, not those of anyone on the show in any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other episodes and relevant stories of thegeorgiavirtue.com. I like the mule this week.
I do too.
Tim Walz, for thinking he's masculine and can kick our asses. That is, I couldn't believe it. It's almost the meme cartoon of the guy who says, "Yeah, I'm jacked. I'll beat your ass." And then you see this little guy standing up, but most of he forgot he wasn't in front of a keyboard anymore.
Yeah.
But a lot of Republican men offering to take him on, he's soon to be 61 years old, includes former professional wrestlers Tyrus Murdoch, who is Tyrus on Greg Gutfeld's show. He's regular on Fox News. He's former WWE or whatever champion.
I don't know. A motivational speaker.
Comedian.
Now. Yeah.
And Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, known to WWE fans as Kane. And apparently that dude is 7 feet tall and his fighting weight was 300 pounds.
Yeah. I remember Kane from back in the day.
See, I'm not a wrestling fan. I wrestled in high school, but as far as like jumping around the mat and simulated combat is what they call it. It's not really my thing, but I've seen Glenn Jacobs and he's a big dude.
Yeah.
Like even at 60 years old. But look, I've got Walz, not Kane. I've got Walz by 50, 60 pounds. We're about the same height. I'm 13 years younger, and I voted for Trump, and he thinks he's going to whoop me. Come on, son.
I mean, this is just kind of keeping in character with him. He's just kind of a goof. I mean, and not in a good way. Just
he goes out bird hunting with a shotgun. He doesn't know how to load himself. Wears dry cleaned and pressed flannel shirts. It just isn't working. Oh, by the way, Glenn Jacobs, i.e. Kane, offered to split the fees with him 50-50 for their charities if he would hop in the ring with them. He says, "I'll start it off with $10,000 donation." Dude, I know wrestling is simulated combat, and I know I'm younger than Glenn Jacobs. I'm probably not getting in the ring with a 7 foot tall, 300-pound man.
No,
in his sport.
My strategy would be fall into the fetal position and cry, "Please don't hurt me,"
and wet yourself.
Yes.
Man, look. When I say simulated combat, that's what they call it. They say wrestling's fake. Look, there's nothing fake about how athletic those guys are.
Right.
And how hard Tyrus Murdoch or Glenn Jacobs could possibly punch me in the head.
Yeah.
But Tim Kaine, he's almost exactly 13 years my senior. I think I could probably
Walz.
take. Walz. I think I could take Walz.
Yeah. I'd probably take Tim Kaine as well. I mean,
Tim Kaine. I don't think Tim Kaine would even make that statement. Tim Kaine knows what he is.
Yeah.
But no, Tim Walz, he's going to have to give up on this bravado thing. It's not working for him. He and Greg Gutfeld, they are the same age.
Really?
Yes.
They don't look it.
And Tim Walz looks like, life is beating him down.
Yeah.
And Greg Gutfeld kind of looks like he's just getting started.
Yeah.
Of course, at
Gutfeld's one of
5'1", Greg Gutfeld's body has to do a lot less work to stay alive than Tim Walz at 6'2".
Gutfeld is one of the few people on Fox News now that I can actually tolerate.
I was a
he's
big fan of
funny.
his going back to Red Eye.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's just, I mean, he is, I mean, like, about, I'll watch Special Report of Brett Baer, or the 5 and Special Report of Brett Baer, and then I don't want to watch Fox News again until after Hannity goes off.
Yeah, I talked about it. I'm not a big fan of Laura.
Me neither.
She's way too prudish for me.
Yeah.
Especially when she gets off on her rants. And Hannity's shtick
Yes.
it's just gotten old. I've been listening to it for 40 years.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was a radio host back in Atlanta 40 years ago.
Yeah. And I mean, I used to listen to, I mean, I got XM radio when I was in college. So when I was driving home, had about a 35-minute commute each day, I'd put Hannity on. And now I can't.
Well, what I found Hannity's radio show was talking about his TV show, and his TV show was promoting his radio show. And I was just like, I don't know. It's just like Tucker got old for me.
Yeah. And to me, Hannity really went downhill when Alan Colmes left.
Well, he didn't leave. He died.
Well, but he left the show before that.
Yeah, but I think he was terminal at that point.
Oh, okay.
It's not like he said, "I'm up out this bee." he's up out this planet.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, the balance between the two of them. And look, they were the best of friends.
Yeah.
They would yell at each other, yell over each other, slam the desk, and as soon as they said cut, like, all right, where are we grabbing dinner? Okay, let's go. All right, so Kemp got his tort reform bill passed on Friday. It's headed to his desk.
Yeah, we got that right as we were about to record. It passed the House and the Senate, so now it's just going to his desk to sign, which I'm assuming he will. Then it's his bill.
I don't know what it really does. It limits some liability for businesses. So if somebody is walking through your parking lot, slips on a patch of ice, they can't just sue you as the business owner because everything's icy.
Right.
It does not shield business owners in the case of sex trafficking specifically. Because in other words, if a motel owner did know or should have known that that's what was going on, they still have liability. They are not shielded from liability, but like child abuse is not specifically covered in that.
Yeah, it's just weird what it, how the different carve outs they've got in there, and I guess that was what it took to get the bill passed. Is we can't look weak on sex trafficking because that's an issue that some Republicans have really taken up, and I mean, I'm kind of the opinion that if you're going to do tort reform, it should be across the board and not have all these little carve-outs.
I just don't. The problem with tort reform is everybody's for it until they're the victim.
Right. And that's what one of my lawyer friends said about that. And he is not a ambulance chaser. He's just a general practice attorney, but who actually thinks our insurance is going to be lower because of this? I don't.
No, my liability insurance goes through the roof, and I haven't done anything in years.
Right.
I did have one liability claim, and it was not for a lawsuit. It was a sprinkler that popped. It involved godforsaken places in a funeral home, and it all godforsaken times during a funeral.
Oh no.
Yes. Yeah, that was I think $250,000 experience.
Yeah. Ouch.
So I understood my liability going up after that, but you
Yeah.
know, 10 years after, like it's just going up, almost doubling. Just by the way, you're going to pay us more now. And I've said before in the show, I would like to find a way to get the Ken Nugents of the world off TV.
Right.
At least prohibit the standing with the check.
Yeah.
Like it's Publishers Clearinghouse, standing there with a check and balloons and all that stuff. That stuff needs to go away.
Right.
Because it's not a windfall. It's supposed to make you whole again.
Right.
If someone wrongs you, whether it's an individual or a business, if someone wrongs you, it's to make you whole again, not so that you never have to work again if you can. And it's not, but they act like it's winning the lottery. So that's the sort of thing that's this meaningful type of tort reform that would actually change the culture of Georgia from a litigious society to one of personal responsibility. I don't know if this bill does it. What it does do, it allows Kemp to pound his chest and say, "We got it done," and stop running the commercials during the Braves games about what we're going to do. We're going after tort reform, and if you call your legislator today and all that stuff, I'm like, oh, just shut up. Stop spending money advertising, and you're not running for office.
Well, he's running for office, but just not announced yet. Whatever
What do you
that
think he's running
office
for?
may be. I thought he was a shoo-in for Senate, and now apparently that's not happening. He's going for president in 28, which I still don't completely understand. I don't think
he's got the juice.
I don't think he does either.
I don't think he's got the juice for it. I think he would walk into the Senate seat. Absolutely walk. He would crush Ossoff.
Yeah.
I don't know
Absolutely.
I don't know what kind of backroom deal was made, but
from what I have heard, and I don't know this to be a fact, the Bushes and the Cheneys have been whispering in his ear about being a real alternative to Donald Trump. And
Donald Trump is not running.
Right.
Again.
Right.
Donald Trump is not done with politics. He will never shut up.
Right. I think they see Kemp as an alternative to, I guess, J.D. Vance. I guess they don't like J.D. Vance either. But
who is the presumptive nominee at this point?
I'd have to say J.D. Vance.
No, I'd say who is the presumptive nominee, and behind him is DeSantis. If he can manage a rollout that's not as disastrous as his last one,
yeah.
But you put up DeSantis against Kemp, and I don't think it's a contest.
I mean, DeSantis has more of a national profile now, and of course, because he already ran for president once. I think the thing in Kemp's favor, and this may not be as much in his favor, he's not as much of a asshole as DeSantis. Pardon my language.
Well, you're the editor.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Now, DeSantis does have some stuff that will help him, which one is being an attorney.
Right.
Being a veteran. What I don't like is him playing catch with Brett Baer. I thought that was just hokey.
Yeah.
But all that's recoverable. And, that's reminiscent of Jeff Duncan with his baseball ad he was running where catcher, we'll do this.
Did you know he played for the Miami Marlins?
Oh, wow. Did he?
Yeah.
Where did DeSantis play? Was it Harvard or Yale? It was one of the two of those.
I do not know.
I did think it was funny. I'm telling the story that his whole family had gone to Notre Dame. And when he said he was going to Ivy League school, his parents or grandparents were mad at him because he wasn't going to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
He
he went to Yale for undergrad and Harvard for law school.
So he played baseball at Yale.
Yeah.
Well, Georgia, at least he was a Bulldog. So as I don't have the timer in front of me, but I'm sure we're running long. Eric, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah. So our two air quotes, stranded astronauts are back home after the crew capsule that had been up there for months came back. What launched last week was not a rescue mission as much as, and they weren't really stranded. But, and don't get me wrong, I like Elon Musk. I think he's doing incredible things with SpaceX. But Fox News has just kind of gone overboard with it. And I mean, everyone has gone overboard with it, but watching Fox News, they've gone incredibly far overboard with it because they make Musk out to be this saint. And I read his biography. He may be brilliant and he may be doing a lot of good things, but he's not a saint. But I think people just need to remember that he's human as well. And I don't know where I'm going with that.
Well, he is. I don't know how many kids he has, but how many different people. I know he's had multiple kids.
I've
within
lost
a year.
count. Yeah.
Yeah. He named one of his kids X. And
Yeah.
I mean, dude's weird.
He is. He's also brilliant, and I don't like it when people take that away from him because he is very, very extremely intelligent and focused.
Yeah, but he's not. He's very, very talented at finding extremely intelligent people to surround himself with.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal because he's not a rocket scientist.
No.
But he knows how to find them.
Right.
He's not an accountant, but he knows how to find the smartest and fastest kids who can use AI to find the holes in something. He's an efficiency expert.
Right.
So, and that in and of itself is a hell of a talent because he laid off 80% of Twitter staff.
Yes.
And it's running just fine.
Yep. They had a few little hiccups after that, but yeah, it's running just fine now.
No, I say it was a rescue mission because the other capsule that was there was deadlined. They could have taken it.
And NASA said that, if there had been an imminent emergency on the station where they had to leave the station, they felt comfortable having them come back on Starliner. They didn't want to take the risk.
Right. In case of emergency, break glass.
Right. After Starliner left, the crew capsule that was there, which was another SpaceX Dragon, if they had to, they could have literally strapped those two astronauts to the floor, and they could have come back riding on the floor of that one. So at no point were they stranded, there was just absolutely no way if something went wrong they couldn't come home.
No, this was not gravity.
Yeah. The way I explained it to my mom was they were stranded in a sense that they're going back to some of our earlier topics today. Their flight got canceled because there's a problem with the aircraft, and the airline is just rebooking them on the next flight rather than sending another aircraft to come get them. That's basically what happened.
No, but the telling thing is they did not send another Boeing aircraft or spacecraft after them.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, I don't know that Boeing could have gotten another one together in time.
And look, SpaceX has had their failures.
Yeah, oh yeah, just not with people on board.
Right. Yeah, they've blown up some. Yeah. What do they call the Dragon Heavy?
Well, the Starship and Super Heavy. The
Super Heavy.
Yeah, they failed to make orbit the last two times. But and that's one thing that people don't realize about SpaceX is, yes, they will take these risks when they're experimenting, but they get very conservative very quickly when they start putting people on board.
Well, just like there was one hydraulic clamp that they were worried about and postponed it for 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where if it was, unmanned, you send somebody out there with a crowbar, go ahead and pop that one loose. Let's send it up.
Right. Yeah. And I don't even know if I think SpaceX probably, even if it were just Starlink satellites going up, they probably wouldn't have risked it with that clamp.
Right. But it took them 2 days. Was next window, and you know what? They wanted more time for the handoff procedures, but the weather window was closing. All right, let's go now.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a certain flexibility that private space uses that NASA really didn't. They overanalyzed a lot of things. Where we got the window. Let's take it now.
Yeah, and with the weather, if that had been the space shuttle, they probably would have done the same thing. But yeah,
or to lift them up there for another week.
Right. Which I'm sure.
I don't know. I did see an older article from a couple years ago of a company that wants to put in space tourism and put a hotel into orbit.
Yeah.
And they want to use centrifugal force for artificial gravity.
Yeah, people have been wanting to do that ever since 2001: A Space Odyssey, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
It didn't work out in For All Mankind, which is a great series for anyone that's never watched it. It's on Apple TV, and it's an alternate history of where the Russians beat us to the moon. And, when we beat them to the moon, that kind of ended the space race. But in the For All Mankind universe, that is just the beginning of the space race. And it's a great series. I highly recommend people watching.
Nice. Well, on that note, I want to thank everybody for listening. I'm Dave Roberts. Big thank you to Eric Cumbee, both the guest host and editor. Maybe we'll have Ken back next week if flights actually come back from Europe. We'll talk to you next week.
Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.